Hey everyone, it's Jane with PositivelyJane.net. I hope you're doing great. Today I'm going to show you 3 cards I made with a Concord 9th mail drop stamp and die set. They are interactive. When you pull on the tab, a little message comes out, as well as when you open up the front of the mailbox, there's a message inside the mailbox, which I think is so very, very cute. I scoured Pinterest for some ideas. I got a few of my ideas from Jennifer McGuire, and I want to thank her very much for her creativity. So this is the stamp set, and I just love it. It's just so cute. I cut apart my dies and keep it in a magnetic bowl, and that is my failed attempt to show you that you can turn the bowl upside down and nothing falls out. Once I'm done with my dies, I cut apart these magnetic vent covers and I put my dies on that, and I store them in this Avery L extra large storage pocket. It comes in a bunch of different sizes, and I will link everything below. I put a piece of inexpensive white cardstock behind. I put the magnetic cover with the dies on it behind that, and I keep it all together. The first thing I'm going to do is cut out with Nina 110-pound white solar white cardstock, the pull tab, with this new purple tape. Well, actually purple tape's not new, but it comes in a 1/2 inch size, and that's new, which I love, and I've reused my purple tape over and over. I cut that out first, and then next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use my Spellbinders Platinum 6 this time, because it is one of my favorite die cutting machines. I absolutely love it. It is just so, cuts everything just so amazing. So once I cut that out, I'm going to get the flower stamp from the set, and I'm going to stamp the flowers, and I'm going to be coloring those with some watercolor pencils. And watercoloring with these pencils is one of my favorite things to do, because I'm not a very good colorer. I'm kind of messy, and I do stamp everything with Gina K black amalgam ink, because you can use that on any medium. And in this situation, I stamp 2, because, as I said, I'm messy. And I use the Derwent Inktense, the 72 colors in this particular set. And the reason I stamp 2 is in case I mess up one, I can always go stamp the second one. Or, I'm sorry, color the second one. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit. I'm going to start with the real time on the red. And I'm just kind of giving it a little bit of color, and just in the middle of everything. I'm not being really that careful, keeping it hopefully in the lines. I never was one to color in the lines. And then I'm going to get my water brush, and I'm going to wet these all down, and I'm going to mix that color. This is a very fine tip water brush, and if you don't have any water brushes, again, I have linked that below. This is my favorite microfiber cloth. I like the color because I know it belongs in my craft room and not the rest of the house. So I have, again, linked those below as well. And I always clean off my water brush in between so I don't contaminate colors. I'm going to speed this up. I colored all the daisies yellow, and I did green on the leaves, and I will give you a little close-up of the before and after on the leaves. And then I do a little orange in the middle. Not very full, just kind of put a little color down. And then, as you can see, I'm adding the water in there, and I'll show that to you. And it filled it all in. And then I'm going to go back and put a little orange in the center of the flowers just for a little color. And off camera, which you don't see, I did put a little water on that to kind of blend that in just a little bit. I cut that off, and I love these Fiskars scissors. They are titanium and they are non-stick. And I think I got them at Joann Fabrics or Michael's or something like that with their 40% off coupon. I'm going to cut that flower off with the matching die cut. And now I'm going to work on the interactive portion of my pull tab. So what I want to stamp something on there, but I need to kind of know where it's going to be. So to keep my paper in my MISTI, I put a little of Tombow removable temporary adhesive on there. I lay my flower on top just so I can lay it all out and see. I have trouble with my stamp sticking on my paper and lifting my paper up. So I use this clear plastic that came with my MISTI and put that on, put my stamp on that, and look, it didn't move my paper, it just moved that clear, and now I know everything is all lined up. That's a little trick that I figured out myself. Sometimes I surprise myself. I did stamp this 2 times just to get a really good, clear, solid impression. And now laying the flower on top. Then I'm going to stamp the background with the Heroes Mail Jumble. And this is the Fawn Mermaid cardstock. I love this cardstock. And again, I'm sorry if my head gets in here. I'm sure it will. I'm using a little bit of temporary adhesive because, again, those background stamps lift up the paper. When you have a thick rubber stamp, you have to take the insert out of your MISTI. This is a Simon Says Stamp Sea Glass ink, and I did stamp this 2 times to get a really good, clear impression. And I had this stamp set a while ago, so I was excited when Concord 9th came out with the mail drop bundle to go with it. I'm going to rub off that temporary adhesive. It comes off so easy. It's such a fantastic product. I love paper crafting. It's so fun. This is Fawn's Stamp Chamois, and Gina K has a Touty Towel, and I got this on Amazon. It's a salt cellar, and I store my wet chamois in there, and it stays there for a couple of days. And I have linked that down below as well. This is a Hero Arts KRAFT paper, and I like to cut my die cuts out, not run the whole thing through. I'm using this Teflon bone folder, which I know is expensive, but it is so amazing. Including with the die set is this little slot, I guess. And I put that at the bottom of my envelope and ran that through my Spellbinders Platinum 6. Now I'm trying to figure out the layout of where I want it to be because I don't want the bottom of that tab to hang out down below the card. So I need to make sure that the envelope is high enough. Tracing the hole. I will then put the slot and run that through my die cut machine as well. And there you go. Look how cute that is. Oh my gosh, I just love it. Rubbing off that temporary adhesive again. So now I need to make my pull here strip. I cut that 3/8 of an inch wide by longer than I really need. I'm lining it up, trying to figure out where it goes. I left all this in here so you guys could kind of see the process and understand that it just doesn't happen in 5 seconds. That sometimes there's a little bit of thought involved. This is my favorite stamp rubber. It's a Tombow stamp runner. When I first started making cards, I just thought people just did it 1, 2, 3, and they just had it all figured out, and I realized that that wasn't necessarily the case. Lining up that pull here, making sure it lines up in the back, sticks real good, making sure my flowers show. Going to glue that envelope on the back. I use my favorite Tombow liquid adhesive. It comes out small and it never clogs. It's just amazing. I just love it. It's Nouveau Deluxe adhesive. I apologize. Probably made by Tombow. So I'm putting that through to make sure it all fits. And it does. Looks really, really cute. I mean, look how cute that little envelope is. I decided to use 1/8 inch score tape here and not liquid adhesive because I did not want the adhesive to leak out and then to glue down my pull banner. So I went with 1/8 inch score tape. And it slides really well. Always make sure and test it, make sure it all works well. Gluing on my flowers. I used score tape behind that, and then a little tiny dot of liquid adhesive right there to make sure it stays adhered to the pull. And then fits right in that envelope. How cool is that? making sure it's all stuck. All right, now I'm going to take some liquid adhesive and just glue this onto the front of a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch top folding note card. Again, I use Nina's Solar White 110-pound cardstock, folding that really good with that Teflon bone folder. And then I like to put heavy acrylic blocks on top to make it sit there and dry. Now I'm going to stamp a sentiment down below. This one says "Long Live Snail Mail." I did stamp this 2 times with Gina K black amalgam ink, and you can see I forgot to use my little acrylic sheet, so it lifted the whole thing up and I had to put it all back. So that acrylic sheet is really helpful. I'm putting a little Wink of Stella on all the flowers just to give them a little pop and a little shimmer. And it's because it's water-based, it also blends the colors a little bit more. I decided to put a little heart on the front of the envelope, and I use this Simon Says stamp die, and I save all the hearts. And you can see that I tried stamping a heart there, and I did not like the way it looked. It kind of blended in with the card. This great jewel picker, although right now it's not being so great because it needs cleaned. But I use it for all my sequins and dies. And then I used Stamper's Journey Glaze. You can use a Nouveau Crystal Drops as well. I just couldn't find mine, so I pulled this one out and I let it dry. And that's my finished card. The second card, I started out with the Lawn Fawn large rectangle, stitch rectangle. I cut that out of cardstock, and I did the Hero Arts background stamp on that as well. And then I pulled out what I wanted for my mailbox, and I'm stamping that on Nina Solar White. I'm using the stamp chamois to clean it, and here are my Copic colors that I use. These are all the colors that I use. And I've sped up the coloring. I am not a very good Copic colorist, especially when it comes to big solid areas on that mailbox. But I do use the same basic reds all the time when I'm doing reds. I also make sure I have a colorist blender handy because I'm pretty messy when it comes to coloring. Again, I've already mentioned that. I try not to be. I remember when I was a kid, I would challenge myself to color in the lines, and I would get so upset that I would just not do that. Anyhow, I'm just flooding that with as much color as I possibly can. I think my markers are a little bit dry, which is part of Copic. You need to make sure your markers are really, really full and juicy. And if you need any Copic coloring help, go to Sandy Allnock. She is an amazing Copic colorer and watercolorer. Her cards are just amazing. And she has classes. She has an underwater class going on right now that might be really helpful. And I will link to her down below, her classes, and check it out. That's where I learned how to do all of my Copic coloring, was from Sandy. I will now cut these 3 out, actually 4, with the coordinating dies. Put them through my Spellbinders platform again as well. And you can't see, but the bottom of that, you can see right there, it says post. It has 2 little feet on there. Before I did any assembly, I stamped with Brutus Monroe embossing ink with alabaster powder, and I used the Wagner heat tool, which I absolutely love. And then I assembled my little post box. And those little feet, I'll show you, it's really cute. Fold right behind. Sorry, I never can remember where to get the middle. This is still also new to me. This. Place my box, figure out where my letters are going to go. Put those down with the stamp runner. And there you go. Opens it up. Glue that to the back of a Nina White card, same size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but it's a top fold on the long side. And that particular paper is Altenew. That's not true. It's a paper tray ink paper, and I will link that down below. It is not Altenew. I added some string just for a little bit of interest, kind of organizing it, making sure it's all just the way I want it to be. And there's that cute little card. Made a matching envelope. That is an Altenew envelope. It's called Limestone. My third and last card, I'm using the Simon Says Stamp Saying Hi stamp set. It was a collaboration with W+9, and I'm sorry, it's no longer available. I cut out 4 envelopes on a scrap card. I'm stamping that hello onto a Simon Says Stamp wood grain cardstock. So I did stamp that about 3 times. And I took a small thin point Sharpie and colored in all of the gaps, and I love the way that looks. I cut 3 of the pull tabs. In the stamp set, there's a little stamp that has the blue lines on. If you look really closely, you can see the blue lines. So I did that for all 3 pull tabs, as you can see. Put my stamp on there. This is the happy birthday, and again, I forgot my little plastic thing. I don't know where I did with it. I put it somewhere. Cut the slits on the bottom of the envelopes. I cut it out of 3 envelopes, and you will see that I only did 2 of them. I realized 3 would not work. I'm using this great T-square. That way I can make sure that things are straight. Line it all up. Start with the pink one. Well, I guess I started with the yellow one. Fold that up. Make sure it's straight on my card. I don't want to start with my first one being crooked, then I'll be in big trouble. Put in my happy birthday. Put my envelope together. And there it goes. It slides up and down. The blue envelope I closed up. I didn't put anything inside that one. I did put another pull on the green one, and then I closed up the pink one even though I put a hole in it because I realized I couldn't do all that. And I used score tape instead of all liquid glue here so I could get it stuck down without moving. I put a little heart in front of the 2. I went back to that Simon Says Stamp mini heart, pulled out a couple of hearts that I'd already made. I save everything. I never throw anything away. And again, I put an acrylic on block on that. Stamping the pull here on both of those, adhering them to the top. I used score tape for that. You know, it's good strong adhesive for that because you don't want that pulling off. Trying to figure out what location do I want them to be when they're inside the envelopes. Just fiddling with it. Don't want it sticking out the bottom. And the reason I need to know this is on the left-hand one, as you can see, I need to put a piece of tape at the bottom of that to make sure that it doesn't move. So I keep all of my cardstock. I cut it out of a tag and I put the name on it, and I wanted to find a matching. And so I found which one matched. I put some score tape underneath each of those pull tabs so when you close it down, it doesn't go inside and just keep on falling out the bottom of the card. So I'm laying that up. Gotta be a little more careful. And there you go. Finished card. Pulls out really nice. It looks so fun. I love it. Just love them both. I took a piece of white cardstock and cut it and put it in the middle, inside the card, I'm sorry. And then I realized that my cutter blade needed a new blade. So there's a mono sand eraser, and I just took that to the edges of my card to sand off all of those rough edges that weren't exactly smooth. I did stamp the front and the back of the envelope for the same stamp set. And here are my 3 cards. I really appreciate you guys stopping by. My video editing is getting a little bit better, and hopefully I'm keeping my head out, and I really hope that you learn something or you're inspired to go make cards and not worry that you're not really sure. And remember that it's just a journey and it's a creative process, and your friends and family will love your handmade cards. Thank you so much.